Hey everybody, Anna here. Just wanted to let you know there have been some big changes to the website. Our current domain, merrymacpodcast.com, is transferring over to WordPress. So until February 14th, when it moves over permanently, you can find us at merrymacpodcast.wordpress.com. Be sure to check it out and let us know what you think. And here is episode 80.
Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we're going to give you another one of those handy-dandy crock pot recipes that we all love so much. This is roast with apples and sauerkraut, which sounds like a really weird combination, but actually is quite delicious. This recipe, when I found this recipe, it was meant to be made using a deer or venison roast. I realize a lot of people don't maybe eat deer roast or venison roast or have it available to them. So this is also really, really good with good pork roast. The flavors are wonderful together, and it's an odd but delicious final. It's an it's an odd but delicious combination. It's just very, very good. And then I have a couple side dishes to go along with it that, so you can make your complete meal. But this is a recipe that takes 8 to 10 hours in the crock pot, and that's one of those that I really love for putting on before you go to work, and then it's ready when you get home. Crock pots are just an absolute miracle. They're one of the best things invented. I know people are really loving instant pots and things like that, but those kind of things make me nervous. Like anything that's instant or pressure or whatever, I'm always nervous about using them. The handy dandy crock pot, however, is one of those things. It's like a set it and forget it. You could put whatever into it. Have it on low, let it cook all day while you're at work. When you get home, you have something delicious and hot to eat, and it's ready, and you don't have to do too much extra other than that. So here is your recipe. You're going to need depending upon how many people you're feeding, okay? If it's just you can get a half pound to a 1 pound roast. That's good for 1 or 2 people, and that gives you a little bit of leftovers afterwards, possibly, but maybe not. For a family, I would say, depending upon how your family eats, 1 to 2 pound roast, 1.5 to 2 pound roast. So you can usually say a good rule of thumb is a half pound of roast per person, because the roast isn't going to weigh, when you cook a roast, you get a lot of moisture out of the meat as it's cooking. So you're not going to have a full half pound of meat when it's done. But you don't want to have a whole lot left over if your family are not huge leftover eaters.
It's like a reverse pasta equation.
Yes. Absolutely. So just kind of plan on that. If it's something you just want to try and you don't want to be committed to a lot of leftovers, find yourself a nice little 1 pound pork roast. Or if you hunt and you happen to have a deer roast, or someone who hunts who will give you a deer roast, you need about a 1 pound deer roast. This is layered in a specific order. So what you want to do is your crock pot. What I use for this one, I have a couple different crock pots. The one I use for this one is about an 8-inch diameter crock pot that is tall. It's a taller, narrower crock pot, and it works really nice for this particular recipe. You can use any crock pot, but it's funny if you use a great big one with a smaller amount of food that's centered in it. I don't know, it just kind of dries it out somewhat. So if you have a smaller, like a 2-quart crock pot or a 4-quart crock pot that is tall, that's the right size to use with this recipe. But like I said, you can use what you have. Don't buy something special. This cooks on low. So if you're assembling it in the morning before work, make sure your crock pot is plugged in. Make sure it is turned on low. I don't know how many times I have forgotten to plug my crock pot in or forgot to turn it on when I'm doing something, and then you've just wasted everything. So you can do this 2 different ways. I like to prep everything the night before. What you're going to need is about a 16-ounce jar of sauerkraut, not the great big jar, 16 ounces is plenty. 1 large onion, cleaned and quartered. 2 apples, probably like a Granny Smith apple would be your best. John Gold, Golden Delicious, those type of an apple that are more tart than sweet. But I prefer in this recipe a Golden Delicious or a John Gold. You need your apples to be peeled and cored and cut into about 6 to 8 pieces. And then you need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Okay, so what you're going to do is layer this in your crock pot. You're going to put your roast in the bottom, and you can put salt and pepper on your roast if you desire. You don't have to. Then you're going to put sauerkraut over the top of that. You want to drain your sauerkraut so you don't have a ton of moisture on it. Leave a little bit in there, but you don't want to have a whole lot of liquid off the sauerkraut. So cover your roast with sauerkraut. Then put your quartered onion over the top of the sauerkraut. Then your apples on top of that, and then sprinkle it with a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Put the lid on your crock pot and turn it on low. This is why I said like a narrow crock pot works better, because everything kind of stays on top of your roast. So layer it like that. If you want to get everything ready the night before, like I said, you can get your onion ready. You can get your apples ready. If they turn a little bit brown in the fridge, it's not going to kill you. And you can have your roast ready to go, your sauerkraut ready to go, and everything, and just assemble it. I would not pre-assemble this and put it in the crock pot, because then everything's sitting in there with your raw meat. So, but you can definitely have everything prepped at night and ready to go into your crock pot. And that works really well. And this just cooks on low for 8 to 10 hours, and then it's ready to eat. So your side dish, one of them, is kind of on top of your roast, and that's the onions, apples, and sauerkraut with brown sugar. It's really good. The flavors meld on this, and they're just delicious. A really good side for this is smashed redskins. And I don't know that I've given this recipe before. We were trying to figure it out, but we're not sure if it was hidden in an episode or something. So you need about 6 to 8 redskin potatoes, depending upon how many people, remember. So, if there's less of you, use less potatoes. And you want to scrub them really good and remove any imperfections from the skin. Make sure the potatoes are good. Scrub them really good and cut them up into large chunks, but don't peel them. And you want to cook them in about 2 quarts of water. Put them on the stove and cook them until they're tender. Okay? Drain the water off, and you want to put salt and pepper to taste on your potatoes, however much you like. Probably about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and an 1/8 teaspoon of pepper would be plenty. You need to have milk on hand and fresh or jarred minced garlic. So you're going to smash your potatoes with a potato masher, not a blender. Just take a regular old hand potato masher and smash your redskins up, and then add milk a little bit at a time until you get a nice consistency. You don't want them too wet. You want them to just be mashed and cohesive, but not a big wet mess. Okay, so they should be a little bit on the dry side. And then you're going to add to that 1 tablespoon of minced garlic and stir that in. That is going to be your side dish for your delicious roast with apples and sauerkraut. Now, you can also have other sides with this. I wouldn't go crazy with it because you've already got all that other stuff, but steamed carrots are really good with this. They kind of go along and complement the flavor really well. So there's your dinner. Now, if you want to have this ready for after you get home from work so you don't have to do anything, smashed redskins are a really great thing to make in advance. You can make them the night before and have them in the refrigerator ready to serve the next day. Okay? They're a wonderful dish to do that with. You just go ahead and make them and put them into an oven or microwave safe container so that you can come home from work and put them right into the oven or right into the microwave and warm them up, and they're ready to go. So now you have a meal. You can walk into the house, sick of the world, not wanting to speak to anybody, and you have your delicious smelling roast all ready to eat. Heat up your potatoes and you're ready to go. So there you go, a lovely and delicious crock pot meal with smashed redskins on the side and maybe some steamed carrots if you want. It goes great with craft beer also. I don't know what kind I would recommend. I'm not really good at putting the beer with the food, but probably a nice...
I mean, when in doubt, a Pilsner's always good because the flavor's not too strong.
Right, a Pilsner. Nice brown ale would be good with this. Yeah, really good. That sounds, boy, that sounds good right now. I think I could, oh, I might have to make this tomorrow. It sounds so good to me. I think I will. So this is like really one of those things that's in my regular recipe rotation. I really, really like it. And if you like sauerkraut, you'll like this recipe. The sugar kind of tones it down, but it creates a delicious juice with the meat, but it's not like super sour. So if you're not a huge sauerkraut fan, you'll probably still enjoy it because it just the apple, onion, sauerkraut, brown sugar, it just makes this delicious combination of sweet and tart together, and then you have this delicious juice with your meat, that you can serve on it. And it's just a very, very good kind of unique recipe. I have only ever seen the recipe myself one time, so it's not one of those ones that comes up in different sort of variations very often. So give it a try sometime. One of these fabulously cold, miserable winter days here in North America. Give it a try sometime and let me know what you think about it.
And make sure to check us out online on Facebook and Instagram at Mary Mac Bakehouse, on Twitter at Mary Mac Podcast, and on our website, marymacpodcast.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.